We build investor audiences for small cap companies, retail and institutional. 33 years, thousands of clients. We are experts in messaging. National TV ad campaigns, investor webinars, digital media, reaching hundreds of thousands of investors. RedChip. We do it well, we do it right, we do it big. RedChip. Call us or email us today.
Recording in progress.
Hello, this is Craig Brelsford with RedChip Companies. Thank you for joining today's event with XTI Aerospace, which trades on the Nasdaq under the ticker XTIA. With us today, we have Scott Pomeroy, Chairman and CEO of XTI. We will begin with a brief presentation in a moment, and then we'll open the event to your questions. Before we begin, please allow me to read the Safe Harbor Statement. This call may contain forward-looking statements within the meaning of the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. All statements pertaining to future financial and/or operating results, along with other statements about the future expectations, beliefs, goals, plans, or prospects expressed by management, constitute forward-looking statements. Any statements that are not historical fact should also be considered forward-looking statements. Of course, forward-looking statements involve risks and uncertainties. I now turn this webinar over to Scott. Please go ahead.
Great, thanks, Craig. Really excited to be here today and really appreciate everybody taking the time out in their day to lean into the XTI story. We're excited, always excited to be able to bring the story of XTI, what we're doing, what we're about, what we hope to achieve as an organization. So first of all, let me ground you a little bit in the aircraft that we're building. So hopefully over the course of the next few minutes, I'm going to make a case for the fact that we are developing a very disruptive, first of its kind aircraft that's combining the attributes of a helicopter with all the benefits of a fixed wing aircraft. Some of you may be familiar with the sector known as eVTOL. I'll try to draw some comparison and contrast to who we are relative to maybe some more household names that you might have run across, and what distinguishes and differentiates the aircraft that we are developing here at XTI Aerospace. First of all, let me start with some of the performance metrics, and that I'll be alluding to these throughout the presentation. This is an aircraft that can fly up to 300 or over 300 miles per hour. Much different than what you've seen in some of the other, similarly positioned VTOL aircraft. By the way, VTOL is nothing more than just vertical takeoff and landing. It's a sector that we find ourselves in. One of the primary differentiators is the range of this aircraft. We can travel up to almost 1,000 miles. This is truly a fixed wing airplane that happens to take off and land vertically. Unlike some of the others, which are really more vertical takeoff and landing aircraft that happen to go, engage in forward flight for 100 miles or so. We can carry up to 7 occupants. Up to 25,000 feet of altitude in a pressurized cabin. We have single pilot certified capability here with this particular aircraft. So from a payload, from a range, from a speed, from an altitude perspective, all of our performance metrics are superior. This is an enormous market, and regardless of the numbers, and you'll see, the total addressable market numbers that are a little bit, all over the board. These are anchored in Morgan Stanley numbers that we show here, but it is an enormous sector and growing rapidly. One of the highest growing sectors in the market today by really all metrics that are out there. The other important thing is that we've even had FAA acknowledgement of this category. The FAA happens to refer to it as powered lift. So whether it's VTOL, xVTOL, eVTOL, powered lift, they're all referencing the same thing. It's aircraft that take off and land vertically and that can fly horizontally up to certain ranges. So as you see here, the quote from Mike Whitaker, the former FAA administrator, that it was the first new category in over 80 years. Simply put, what they've done is the FAA has taken the certification criteria of fixed wing and the certification criteria for rotary wing aircraft and merged them together and codified those requirements in this new category called power lift. And that is the sector and the segment that we will be certified under. This is perhaps the most important slide, and if you remember nothing else about the presentation itself, it would be this one. This really identifies the market based on range. So you'll see some names on the left side of this slide that are probably familiar to you. Archer, Joby, Beta, Eve. These are your eVTOL companies. These are really what I would refer to as intra-city models. We actually represent an intercity opportunity when we look at the regional aspect of what we do. So from a regional VTOL perspective, we dominate and have the opportunity to dominate the category just based on the range of this aircraft alone. You know, the names you've heard of are really more air taxis in nature. This chart is probably a little bit generous, and it gives it a range of over 100 miles. Most of these guys are probably going to operate inside of that 100-mile range area, and have limitations relative to number of passengers that they can carry, limitation on speed, need for infrastructure as they bring forward a new power plant to operate the aircraft. These are all electric. Very important that I distinguish that the TriFan is not an electric version. We operate using conventional componentry, and it's an ICE or internal combustion engine configuration. We rely on jet fuel A. We really believe that the market is looking for, and we have validation of that, and I'll get into that in a minute. That the market has clamored for the opportunity to really fly point to point, but do so over a much larger range. That's not that we aren't big fans. We are big fans of what Archer, Joby, Beta, et cetera, are doing. We're in a similar category, but we don't accomplish a similar mission. We also think they're reasonable predicates for us when it comes to things like valuation. We're following the exact same roadmap that these guys have followed. We happen to be a couple of years behind them in the evolution and development of our aircraft. The aircraft is a different aircraft with a different mission, but we fall under that same certification criteria that I just mentioned in the power lift category. So similarities, but differences that are really critical to understand. Complementary in many ways relative to what Archer and Joby are attempting to accomplish. We think they'll ultimately be very successful with their model. They do have some challenges relative to infrastructure, as I mentioned, where they've got to have charging stations that are located in proximate location. They've got to have those landing sites that are close to the final destination that they're trying to get their passengers. When you're flying an air taxi, it's not sufficient to get them close. You really have to get them to their destination. So they understand their challenges. They're working towards solving those. But that's an important benefit of our aircraft relative to theirs, because we don't rely on that infrastructure or regulatory environment that's going to have to govern the airspace for their aircraft. And so when we get to entry into service, we've got no inhibitors to get out there and really launch in a scalable way the number of the TriFan aircraft. So this is, as I mentioned, it's disruptive in all ways. We operate and are really anchored in this whole VTOL space. I oftentimes find it's beneficial to define what the VTOL, or what we like to call the vertical economy, what it involves and what it includes, because there's a lot going on in that total addressable market that's projected to be at 9 trillion by 2050. You've got manned aircraft, unmanned UAS, um, urban air systems, and you've got power systems like the electric, all electric versions. You got hydrogen coming to the market, airspace and infrastructure management that I mentioned. AI is going to be and its utilization will be an important componentry. One of the reasons that this aircraft is available and can be available now is with the evolution of things like advanced materials and AI, or even more broadly technology, that we've been able to fly vertically since the Harrier jet back in the 50s. But this is now something that we believe and have validated that you can bring this to market in a cost-effective, cost-efficient way. We're partnering with leaders in the industry. We've announced some of them, more to come. We're working with people like Triumph, with people like IDEO to develop the design of the aircraft itself. So we've got world-class, best-in-class partners that we've begun to solicit and partner with as we work towards this seamless certification initiative and effort that we've got in place. One of the reasons we believe that certification will be, a process that's not as encumbered as some of the other cohorts in the space, is that we're really leveraging off-the-shelf componentry as much as we possibly can. So there's nothing on this aircraft that hasn't been certified before, and that the FAA hasn't seen before, or the military hasn't seen before. They've just never seen it in this particular configuration. The aircraft has always been envisioned, and is still today envisioned, to be part of a product family. We've picked the particular size of aircraft that we have to begin with because it optimizes the off-the-shelf componentry, and it is going to be the easiest path to certification. But that's what you do when you bring a new aircraft to market. You bring that clean sheet design, you move it through certification, and then you certify derivatives of that as we move downstream to autonomous cargo versions of this aircraft, and upsize it to larger payload cargo, and 8 to 12 passenger type configurations of this aircraft. So we've always had that on the drawing board, and continue to be bullish about our ability to reach broader market segments as we evolve. Speaking of those market segments, who are the customers? First of all, I'd point out that we have almost 300 conditional purchase orders and indications of interest, reservations, if you will, of the aircraft. And where do they come from? Where have we found the level of interest from the marketplace? First of all, it's in executive transport, whether that's your private operators, corporate owners, charter services, fractional services. It's a multitude of the net jets and the flex jets, and the corporate operators that are out there. Regional transport. We've announced in the past Mesa Airlines as a partner of ours that's secured an order from us. Medical and EMS providers, and ultimately government and military. We've got a wide array of potential markets that have demonstrated an interest. And by the way, this is global in nature, and you can let your mind run a little bit wild when you think about a point-to-point aircraft, an aircraft that can set down, in a cul-de-sac, in a parking lot, at the scene of an emergency, and fly at over 300 miles an hour at up to 1,000 miles to a destination that it can drop down and set down at the destination point itself. I often say that the number of business use cases that we we haven't thought of yet probably will over time will outstrip those that we have. So it's a wide array. We're working with our partners to narrow that entry into service to really prioritize those customers that will be early on the list. But suffice it to say, we've seen a significant amount of interest from the market as we sought early in the process to validate the market acceptance of this aircraft. You may be familiar with an executive order that came out last month. Actually, I guess it was just a little over a month, early part of June, from the president. It was entitled "Unleashing American Drone Dominance," and it was really there to accelerate the production of emerging technologies in the vertical space, set related regulatory standards, modernize the aerospace industry, really at the end of the day. And we fall squarely in the middle of what the administration is attempting to accomplish with that executive order. There are many different ways we'll begin to see the manifestation of that executive order, whether that's in some of the diminished regulatory requirements. We've seen some conversation about what they call BV loss with drones, beyond visual line of sight, is what that stands for. And our aircraft is a part of that family of vertical takeoff and landing. So where are we in the process? What does that all mean? Well, first of all, we're a milestone-driven company. We measure ourselves against those milestones. If you've been following us at all, since the first of the year, you will know that we put out the milestones that we are attempting to complete in the coming half year or so, and then we report out against our success with those milestones. So we have, from a current situation, we're in a phase called preliminary design review. That gives way to a critical design review and path to first flight. Why do I focus on first flight? It's because ultimately, once an aircraft is flying, all the fundamentals of an aircraft company like ours changes dramatically. We've also submitted our certification plan through our G1 submission to the FAA. So we're entrenched in conversations with the FAA, and our anticipation is that you will see a first manned flight of a full-scale version of this aircraft by mid-2027. So just to step back a little bit, I made mention of the fact that we parallel and follow as a close follower to some of the eVTOL companies that have set the standard for the process of certification and the correlation of their phasing of development against their valuation increases. So this chart looks to just depict, as you move from conceptual design to first flight, the significant valuation changes that occur. This is all on a relative basis, but if you're following Joby or Archer, you'll know that these companies are in the 14 billion and 6-7 billion valuation range, respectively. Both of those companies are still pre-revenue, have not certified their aircraft yet, but they've seen corresponding value increases along with every phase change or improvement and advancement that they see along the way. The company is overseen by a team that I'm extremely proud of, that has focused on our ability to combine financial and capital raising acumen with incredible aircraft development acumen. You see just a few of the members of the team here on the engineering leadership staff. Over 40 clean sheet designs that have been brought through the process from white sheet design to FAA certification and entry into service. So this is a team that is very well adept at taking aircraft through this process, and no surprises to them. And it's a world-class team that we've been able to assemble, and I'm humbled, frankly, by the team that we've been able to put together. And we're excited about what the future holds. All right. Hope that provides a good overview of who we are, what we're about, what we're doing, but really wanted to make sure that we make ourselves available for Q&A. And the rest of the time, the floor is yours to ask whatever question comes to mind, and I'm sure there are many, but happy to entertain those questions.
Thank you very much, Scott. Press the Q&A button and type in your question. The Q&A button is at the bottom of your Zoom window in the middle of your screen. And the raise hand button is nearby. Press that if you would like to speak to Scott. Scott, are the airlines themselves a possible user? Flights are always delayed or canceled because crew can't get to where they need to be. If a regional flight crew needed to get from Chicago to Detroit or Boston to New York City, this would be perfect. Would also be a nice publicity boost if some of the airlines had these on order.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great question. Let me give you a few stats to back that statement up. Roughly 95% of the air traffic in this country runs through about 30 hubs throughout the country. Now, obviously, there are many, many more destinations than the 30 hubs. What that means is, for the most part, regional travel is being subsidized by the carriers and by the local communities. In large measure, it's because the aircraft isn't sized properly for those regional flights. This aircraft is a perfect opportunity for regional air traffic to be right-sized, with the right aircraft, flying the right routes. So we agree with that statement that there's a great opportunity from a regional standpoint for us to be a great partner with the major carriers.
Thanks, Scott. Do you have an actively flying model?
Currently, well, we fly models. We fly subscale models on a routine basis. But when we talk about first flight, we're talking about full scale, and I'm assuming that's what the question is getting at, is the notion of a full scale piloted model or prototype of the aircraft. We do not, but we anticipate that flight to be in by mid-27.
Scott, where will the manufacturing center be located?
Yeah, another great question. So we are at a point in time in the development of the aircraft where it is now time for us to start to put a stake in the ground. You'll see us making some of those announcements in the coming months. We are looking at some of the obvious areas in the country, places like Wichita, Phoenix, Dallas, Florida, and we are and will continue to be in active discussions with those markets, looking for incentives that would attract us to one market versus another. And this is a time where we need to be a little bit forceful because we do represent a significant manufacturing base when we start to put that stake in the ground. And there are plenty of incentives out there, and we want to optimize that for the benefit of shareholders.
Will the aircraft be available for startup charter companies or companies like Uber early on?
Yes, absolutely. Charter services are a real significant target for us. Probably if I were to rank order, where we would look to go first, it's going to be in the area of fractional ownership and charter first. So even though I feel strongly about the regional opportunities, we're probably going to lean in more to the fractional and charter first.
Well, what interest do you have from the federal government? If so, who? And when do you expect production of aircraft to support those requirements?
Yeah, another great question. So one of the things you'll see is we've been very intentional about putting an advisory board together of some very notable and noteworthy people. If interested, I would really recommend that you spend a little time on our website to get to know who our advisory board is. You will see a very intentional notion of federal government oriented people that are on that list. So we are in constant conversation and interaction with our advisory board about opportunities that exist within the government for us to exploit this aircraft. I'll give you one simple example that about a month ago, Secretary Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, came out and announced that the Bell V-280 aircraft has been selected to satisfy certain missions that are in the Pacific, the Asian Pacific area for island hopping. They were looking for an aircraft that was a vertical takeoff and landing. As a matter of fact, I think the article was entitled that military goes all in on vertical, and he identified that aircraft as a winner. Now we think we could do not as much. That's a much bigger aircraft, much more expensive aircraft, but we can provide a similar mission opportunity for the military. So we want to be furthering our conversation with them about this as an alternative aircraft, not necessarily a substitute, but an alternative to meet some of the diminished requirements that the V-280 might be overkill for.
Will you sponsor, or are you currently sponsoring, a pilot training program?
Yeah, that's another great question, because this will require a fixed wing pilot's license. Obviously, you've got to get qualified on the aircraft, and then there's a qualification, an additional qualification on the VTOL nature of it. We've had conversations with a couple of universities that put training programs together. I suspect you'll see that coming out from us in fairly short order. And let me be fair about that. That's probably a 6 month plus type program. But we would be partnering with a university here in the U.S. that specializes in pilot training.
Is there a screen in front of the fans to prevent bird strikes? And what are the emergency procedures for engine failure?
So let me take the second part of that question first. So from an engine failure standpoint, that we have complete redundancy. So these are twin turbo engines that are proven engines. These are we haven't gone into great detail. We will be doing that soon on the engines that we'll be using, but they're currently used in military aircraft now, helicopters, and the redundancy is specifically to address the potential engine failure issue. On a side note, this is anecdotal, but we had one particular potential sale was from a large family office. They have a large flight department. They have 3 helicopters in the flight department. Don't necessarily like the single engine safety issue or lack thereof with those aircraft, and they're leaning in on this as a replacement to their helicopters, specifically because of the redundancy of the engines. As it relates to bird strikes, I probably would be out over my skis if I tried to describe how we are set up and safe relative to bird strikes. It's a really good question. I just don't necessarily have that specific answer for you.
William, please unmute your line. You're on with Scott.
Just a minute. Hang on. My apology. Hang on a second.
We can hear you just fine, William. So whenever you're ready.
William, we're gonna move on, and you straighten it out, and we'll be right back with you. Raise your hand again, please. Scott, are there government grants that the company can get to advance and accelerate development?
Simple answer to that is yes, absolutely. And we are in the process of working some as we speak.
William,
Yes, sir.
please go ahead. Yes.
I work out of MSP, Minneapolis, 5-state area, and just considering weather conditions, icing in particular, in the 20 to 35 degree range.
Yeah, the question is, will we be able to address potential icing?
That is correct.
Yeah. So great question, William. And the answer to that is yes. So we have from the very beginning of the design of this aircraft, we have built in the capability for what the industry is, what's known as FICI, or the ability to fly into known icing conditions. And this will be FICI compliant. So it will be part of our certification efforts, is to ensure, and that's one of the reasons that 25,000 feet is selected as our max altitude, because it does get you above most known weather conditions. So we believe we will be limited in terms of our flight hours and flight days to probably about the same as the commercial airliners. Maybe not exactly, but it's going to be close. That's a good comparison to these eVTOL players who fly substantially lower than that, and they must fly in IFR conditions, which are VFR conditions, visual flight rules, and cannot get into instrument flight like our aircraft can. So
Right.
It's a fabulous question. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Scott, with the focus on America first, tell me about the impact this could have on overseas selling and global expansion.
So yeah, another really good question. Obviously, we want to fall under some of the administration's mandates relative to manufacturing. Now, the whole industry has been exempt historically with certain parts and capabilities, and the industry is in heavy lobbying at the moment to retain some of those benefits, even though from a manufacturing, and I use the term manufacturing a little bit loosely, it's really final assembly is what we'll do. This aircraft is comprised of roughly, let's call it around 30 subsystems and much like other aircraft manufacturing, it's a final assembly piece that happens for instance, in a Boeing plant or in an Airbus plant. And a lot of the subsystems are parted out to subs. And that's what we'll look like. So we'll be looking at how we deal with potential tariff issues and the manufacturing, but our current intent is to establish our first footprint in manufacturing in the US.
Are the ducted engines patented? If so, in the US and elsewhere?
Yes, to both those questions. So we have patents in China, we have patents in Europe, I probably would be out of my depth to try to name all of them, but the ducted fans and more importantly the placement of the ducted fans on the aircraft, because that's what really gives the vertical thrust potential for this aircraft. So that's where we've placed a lot of our reliance on the IP itself, and those are routinely kept up and filed and managed by our team of attorneys.
Carl, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. So you drew a clear comparison to Joby and Archer in terms of valuation multiples, despite they don't really have commercial operations yet either. So from your perspective, what milestones, whether FAA, strategic partnerships, contracts, traction, do you think could serve as inflection points to kind of close that valuation gap for you guys over the next 12 months or so?
Yeah, great question, Carl. So I start at the end, right? And what I absolutely believe is that when we've got that first flight, we've got the first aircraft flying, we have distinguished ourselves. That's critical. So we're on a 24-month timetable now. What we need to see and the milestones that we need to be delivering against between now and then is the final establishment of every supplier. You should see the evolution of the aircraft itself. We'll be building the aircraft in 2026. We'll be putting the pieces together. That's something that are huge milestones. The airframe, when that airframe is delivered. Now, all the detailed designs are complete, and we're finalizing some of the last few pieces of this. But as we start to bring subcomponentry in, the testing of the ducted fans, we'll be doing some stand testing and some additional testing with that, and we'll report out on how those ducted fans are performing. I would say from a risk standpoint, what are the things that keep me awake? The ducted fans and the transition from thrust to propulsion that's the most important thing for us. When we fly the first aircraft, it won't be doing those transitions just yet, but we'll be learning about the transitions in that first flight. So those are important attributes and aspects of this. We'll be gaining a lot of data, and our objective is to be transparent with the market as we move through it. We'll fly subscale models of this, and we want to show and demonstrate that as we get closer and closer to a full scale. We're learning all the time with those aircraft that we do fly.
If the first manned flight is in mid-2027, when do you expect to be in full production on an ongoing basis to fulfill the first initial orders of 300 aircraft? How many aircraft per year do you anticipate producing?
Yeah, a whole series of great questions there. So as far as timeline into full production, that's going to be informed over the next couple of years as we march towards first flight, because we'll have a better handle on what that certification process will look like. As you know, once you get into first flight, you're in full-fledged FAA certification mode, and you're looking at that aircraft as moving through the certification process. Our hypothesis is because we are an aggregation of subsystems that are not foreign to the FAA, that should short cycle our certification efforts. As we move through that first manned full-scale flight, we'll have a better perspective on that. So right now, the best I could give you is ranges that are probably fairly disparate in timetables, because what we learn between now and then will impact my perspective on that. But call it anywhere from 31-ish time frame to maybe a year or two longer than that, depending on the certification process. Now, that all presupposes no changes in the regulatory environment that we know today. I believe one of the objectives of the president's executive order was to start to impact the regulatory environment. And right now we struggle as an industry, and that just isn't necessarily just aerospace, but we have gotten to a point where we can, from a commercial standpoint, we can design and build an airplane very quickly. But the certification process takes much longer to get us into production, and it can be as long a process as it takes you to build the aircraft. So I think one of the things that the president is after is how do we short cycle that? If we're going to dominate the vertical space out there, we have to be better regulatorily. That's not to suggest that we would compromise safety ever. We have a zero tolerance for that at XTI, and so does every aerospace company that I'm aware of. So we're not asking, we just know that technology, materials, manufacturing capabilities are all advanced to the point that we can and should be able to get through that certification process faster. So that's our hope. I'd be a little remiss if I threw that out there as the basis upon which I would project, but I'm hopeful that and we're going to do what we can as a company to influence and impact that.
If AI is the future of this program, how are you set up for cybersecurity?
Well, I can tell you it's a significant focus of the team on the technology side of the equation. We'll be partnering with some prominent folks on the AI side, and cybersecurity will be at front and center. This aircraft will be as much as anything else, will be an accumulator of significant amounts of data. We'll use AI to help us with this transitional flight. There are some intricacies when you move from thrust to propulsion that involve elements of piloting that probably is too much for the human pilot to deal with. So that's why we'll be using full fly-by-wire for the aircraft, and really all that is a cool technical term to say it'll be digital. And we'll be making course corrections of the aircraft. The aircraft will make it for the pilot, him or herself. And so we'll be focused on cybersecurity as a function of rolling this technology out. It has a prominent place in the flight laws and the flight control laws and flight control system.
How much more capital is required to get to the first sale? Do orders come with deposits that will fund development?
Yeah, two good questions. So we're estimating that we need somewhere in the neighborhood of 125 million or so to get to first flight. That's we've been talking about that number for some time. From first flight triggers some of your deposits that question, very intelligent question, presupposes. Not uncommon for those deposits to be as much as $1 million or more at first flight. So we'll be incorporating and looking at that in our sales contracts as we move forward. So we do anticipate that deposits can be a very important source of funding for us. It's also why we're looking at government as well. But as you've seen with the predicates in Joby and Archer and others, once they've gotten to full flight, to first flight, it opens the aperture of the opportunities available to them to capitalize, raise the capital sufficient to get across the goal line. So that's what we're looking for. I think there was also a question along the way that I neglected to answer about the number of aircraft we expect to produce, et cetera. So right now we think we could easily accommodate a couple hundred per year at full run rate. You got to ramp up to that with a single facility, and so that's part of our calculus as we look at production, and also what we are thinking about as we look at the potential for deposits helping to fund us once we get to first flight.
Is the Maglev Aero Company's product of serious interest to you?
Wow, that's a great informed question. It is, as a matter of fact. Now, they've got, obviously their product is not certified. For those that don't know who Maglev is, they have developed a new technology using magnetic technology, moving the source of power for the propellers in a ducted fan to the outer rim rather than powering it conventionally. And so they use the science of magnetic. They're typically driven by electric motor. So we know them well. and we're in relative constant conversation with them. I don't know whether we would be able to leverage what they're doing on this first flight aircraft, but you can assume we'll be continuing to evaluate where their technology evolution might intersect nicely with ours.
Couple of quick questions regarding helicopters. Number one, would it be cheaper than a helicopter?
So it depends on the type of helicopter you're looking at, but by and large, no, will be more expensive than a helicopter and cheaper than a jet, if you will. And there probably would be some jets, depending on the size, perhaps a Cirrus that's going to be a cheaper aircraft than ours would be. What we really provide is that fixed wing capability with helicopter flexibility. So it's something that we've certainly been testing the thesis around pricing with our customers. We're in the throes of updating that analysis right now, but it will be a lot cheaper to operate than a helicopter, not necessarily on a per article basis cheaper.
Will the Sparrow have ejection capabilities? I imagine that would be a big selling point over helicopters.
I doubt that it will. It's not something that the engineering team has talked about. I have heard it mentioned in passing, but not seriously.
Will the aircraft be able to program a location in and then take off by itself and land at its location?
Yeah, that question is really is it autonomous? Will it be autonomous in nature? And the answer is yes. I mean, we will build this aircraft. One of the reasons you want full fly-by-wire is so that you can move to autonomous. The more mechanical elements of an aircraft are still continue to be resident, the less capable you are of autonomous flight. So really, in today's day and age, you've got to be developing aircraft with an idea that you would fly it autonomously. So yes, is the simple answer.
Is the Department of Transportation on track to accommodate air traffic control of these airplanes taking off and landing in multiple random locations with common airspace?
No. Good question. So airspace management is something that is addressed, not in a extensive way within the executive order, but it is touched on. Now, airspace management is going to be more germane and relevant to the air taxis. For our aircraft, we enter the current airspace designations as they currently exist. So we can. The thing is, we can take off. Now you'll have regional or local airport, depending on where you're taking off from and landing, air traffic control that will be plugged into. The problem with the air taxis is they don't have that system today. So as that question astutely identifies, airspace management is a critical component that has to evolve for this entire sector to really realize upon its full potential. A lot of work being done there, a lot of companies working on it. I know of some that think they're very close to having an air management system, airspace management system that they could effectively turn over to the FAA to manage. Time will tell, but I would expect to see that's one of those key legs of that vertical economy stool. And I would expect that you'll see more of that in the coming months and quarters.
Scott, you've drawn a clear comparison to Joby and Archer in terms of valuation multiples despite no commercial operations yet. What specific milestones, whether FAA, strategic partnerships, or contract traction, do you believe could serve as inflection points to close that valuation gap for XTI over the next 12 months?
I think that's a repeat question, Craig. I think I addressed that just a minute ago. But again, the milestone, the most significant milestone being first flight. When I back up from there, it's really the evolution of the development of that aircraft, and getting to making sure that the aircraft is built so that it can fly in mid-27. So you'll hear us reporting out on the evolution of the build of that aircraft and the readiness for that first flight.
Will the aircraft be available in Europe?
Yes. Yeah. We think the market outside the U.S. might be bigger than the U.S. itself, as bullish as we are on the U.S. market, because you've got a lot of underdeveloped countries. Europe is obviously not one of them, but a lot of underdeveloped countries that could leverage this aircraft, and really it allows them to bypass the build of some of the needed infrastructure, like runways and regional airports and the like. So it would allow places in say India, in remote areas of India, that you could get around quite nicely. So yes, Europe is definitely on the list, but the entire globe is a target and focus for us.
Michael, please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me? Yes.
There you go. Now you're unmuted.
Yeah, Scott, my compliments on what you're looking to accomplish here. I noticed as I was looking to invest that that you had established a relationship with the Oak Ridge National Labs.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just wonder if you might comment on that. And also another part of the question, as you develop, are you looking at developing and including any mill standard in your development so that you can quickly transition to a government and military client as well as in the commercial space?
Yeah, great question, Michael. Thank you. So yeah, the Oak Ridge Labs they are our supplier of CFD, computational fluid dynamic engineering, testing, and modeling. So they have the supercomputer that allows us, if you probably are familiar, that access to those supercomputers for CFD work to get your preliminary engineering designs is critical. And what we needed was somebody that we could iterate with and not constantly be, running the models and then getting the output going to the back of the line constantly. So they've been a great partner that has put us in more of an iterative process, so that from a CFD perspective, we don't lose any time at all with the computational elements that we're having to run through. As far as the mill, yes, absolutely. We're very conscious of it as we go through the process, and one of the reasons that we are leaning in as heavily as we are with the government itself. We think there are a number of potential use cases here for the government. We've got some interesting folks that are either in or near the administration that have taken a particular interest in the company and the aircraft itself. So we expect more on that front in the coming months, but know that it's very very top of mind for us.
John, please go ahead. John.
Yes, very impressed by your presentation, Mr. Pomeroy.
Thanks, John.
How do you manage the overpromise, underdeliver problem? But my analysis of this, that you're likely to be taken over by a larger aerospace corporation like Textron.
I learned over the course of my career, John, I learned it from some private equity guys that I admire a lot, that when you build a great company, the exits kind of take care of themselves, so to speak. And so my focus has always been on building great companies. And I certainly wouldn't discount your perspective at all. It's something that you keep in mind all the time. But we're heads down. We know what we've got to do. We've built a great team here of passionate, enthusiastic. This team understands that they're doing something very, very unique and very exciting, and it drives people's behavior more so than anything I could do on their behalf. They know they want to be part of something very special, and so that drives them. So as we evolve, we'll see what happens. And ultimately, we will do what is in the best interest of shareholders always. But you can't presuppose, you can't plan those things. So we won't.
Have you determined an estimated price?
We have. We're targeting in the market of roughly 12 million. It places us in a good competitive space. When you look at total cost, the article cost and the operational cost.
Will you use issuing more stock to help finance further development?
So our perspective is that we want to access the capital where the market is most receptive and it is in the best interest of our shareholders. So it's an interesting dynamic, right? Because when you issue more shares, you see it impacting valuation. But if you've been watching us for a while, even when we do raise the capital, the stock price tends to rebound some. That wasn't always the case in the early days. So when you look at the first year of operation, and I'll be real honest with you, that a lot of that first year was about cleaning up the balance sheet and fixing some things that we inherited as part of the reverse merger we did in March of 24. And it was a rough stock ride during that period of time. But I'm really excited and pleased to say that all of that hosing out, this might be a crude comment, but the hosing out of the monkey cage has occurred and it's behind us. So all of our capital raising right now, every dollar goes to the evolution and building of the aircraft. There's no debt. There are no issues that we contend with in any significant way. So we're able to press forward. So we will look to leverage the markets where the markets are available. We're looking at potential some private investment as well when where that's appropriate. But know that I understand from a shareholder perspective that there are impacts and those are always in the center of conversation when we're looking to raise it. Obviously, we need more capital. We have to do that in the most optimal way possible.
Michael, please go ahead. Michael.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can. So
when is the next time you're going to release earnings? And is it going to be pre-market or aftermarket?
So we're at the end of Q2. What do we have? We have till 15th of August. I'm trying to think what we typically do. I think we try to release our goal would be pre-market, although the last couple of quarters have been post because we've been pushed right to the limit. As far as, and usually it's not our team's issue. It's working with the advisors, the accountants running the traps and et cetera. So I'd like to say it'll be pre-market, but I can't say for sure, Michael, just given past performance, because we have issued aftermarket the last 1 or 2 quarters. But we'd like to get into a cadence of pre-market.
My marketing mind at work here. Where can a stockholder or other interested parties purchase licensed apparel, caps, desk models of the TriFan 600, etc.? Your vest with the XTI Aerospace logo looks great.
Thank you. It's an interesting question. One that we've had the conversation around here lately. The team is working to have a merchandising site set up. I don't know exactly where they are in terms of launch, but I'd probably go out on a limb and say soon, because we've got some great logoed merch that's out there. What we do believe in here is that the merch needs to be high quality. Because it represents a high quality brand. So I think you'd be real pleased. This is a North Face vest that I'm wearing with an XTI logo. So I think you'd be proud to have it and wear it. So stay tuned. That's what I'd say.
Thank you, everyone, for your great interest. We don't have much more time, Scott, but I wanted to wrap up with a few questions that really only need a 1 or 2 or 5-word answer. We can get as many of these out of the way as possible. We really do appreciate everyone's interest. Is your fuel an aviation fuel mix or more like premium octane automobile gasoline?
Jet fuel A. So very similar to other aircraft.
How long will it take to build the assembly plant after picking the site?
I think it's fair to estimate that would take anywhere from 18 to 24 months.
When will the Sparrow flight be released?
I'm expecting that in the next 30 to 45 days.
Will the TriFan 600 have TCAS and ADS-B in and out?
Yes, TCAS, AES-B, I don't know where that sits. TCAS for sure. I'm assuming AES-B, but that has all been contemplated. Yes.
Do you plan to have a booth at any trade shows or air shows to increase awareness?
So we've been recently. We're at the air show in Australia where we unveiled our model. That might be a little weird. Why Australia? Because the model was produced in Malaysia, so we ended up showcasing that. So we haven't been. We weren't at Oshkosh. We weren't at Paris. We're hoping that in 26 you'll start to see us at those air shows on a regular basis. We'll probably be present at NBAA in October, not showcasing, but that's probably the last one where you'll see us not holding a booth.
Final question, Scott. What percentage of the company is owned by management and insiders? Does management have skin in the game? And why is this important or not important?
So we're in the process of revitalizing the management stake in the company, and so that'll be addressed soon. Obviously, it's critical to have management aligned with shareholders. I'm a big believer in that, and so you'll see more of that from us in the very near term.
Thank you very much, Scott. For more information on XTI Aerospace, reach us at 1-800-RedChip or email us at xtia@redchip.com. And I especially invite those of you whose questions we did not get to answer today, simply copy your question into that email. We want to make sure that Scott and the team can at least see it. Thank you very much. Please use RedChip. Yeah, a few more little things here, Scott, before we wrap up. Please use RedChip's investor information page for XTI Aerospace. It's xtiainfo.com. There you can sign up for news alerts on XTI Aerospace and view and download the investor presentation and fact sheet. And lastly, please make sure you join RedChip's next webinar with Green Power Motor Company on Monday, August 4th at 4:15 p.m. U.S. Eastern. Register for that webinar and for all RedChip webinars at redchip.com/events. Now we're done. Thank you again to our many participants today.